What's going on YouTube? OCD for EDC here. What I've got for your face balls today, we're going to be talking about a knife that I'm pretty surprised about, honestly. I haven't looked at a knife from this manufacturer for quite some time just because I was not impressed. But I think they've actually made something cool. Let's get into it. We're going to check it out. We're going to tear it open. We're going to go through the whole entire deal in this video. I haven't put out a video like this for a little while, so hopefully you guys dig it. Even if you don't like this company, it's interesting the way they put this thing together. So stay tuned because I think you're going to dig this. And the knife in question is the SOG Altair XR, and this is how it's spelled right here. This is the packaging that it comes in. It's a slide open kind of packaging. It's massive. I don't know why they do this. They ship the knives in their extended form, and I don't really understand it because this knife is tiny as well as being incredibly lightweight, but then they ship it in a box like this. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but you can see the packaging here. You know, the knife comes just like so in the box, and there is underneath here you get some extra parts and pieces, which we're going to talk about, and then there is an info card that kind of explains how you can maintenance the knife as well as change out the parts and pieces, which we'll go into. I think if I remember correctly, yeah, this will become important right here. Take a note right there. It says that insert a 2mm hex key or hex driver. That is incorrect, and I'll point that out when I get to it. Let's just get into this knife real quick and check it out. So we've got a FRN or fiberglass reinforced nylon kind of scales here, similar to the original Bug Out. I would say that this is absolutely a Bug Out competitor, although they didn't just copy the Bug Out, and I'm happy about that for sure. It's all FRN, and even the thumb stud, it's got like a plasticky kind of thumb stud, but it's very comfortable and works well. Action is spectacular, which you'll see the reason why it is here in a bit. But you've got FRN backspacer, or you can change it out for, so you either get the choice of a lanyard loop like this, you can see there's no pocket clip, or you get a reversible deep carry pocket clip, but you have to change the backspacer. I've already done this once, so I know how to do it. Thankfully, I did it prior to turning the camera on, so you guys won't see me fumbling around trying to figure out how this thing comes apart, because as you can see, there are no screws in the show side of this knife. You just have the one pivot, that's it. There is nothing else on either side, very clean, and you have minimal branding on the blade. You can see right there, it says SOG Altair XR. On the other side, it just says, hopefully you guys can see that, but it says Cryo 154 CM and then Taiwan. So this knife is manufactured in Taiwan. If you guys know anything about knives coming from Taiwan, they have the ability to make really, really spectacular stuff. The Taiwanese definitely know how to make a good knife. And, you know, I think they did a pretty good job here as well. And we're going to get into it. So ultimately, let's do a little size comparison. So like I said, this is reminiscent of a Bug Out. And I do not have just a standard 535 Bug Out. But here are a couple of Bug Outs that I personally own. This one here started out life as the standard 535, but it's now got G10 Flytanium crossfade scales on it. If you're interested in picking up any of those, go check out our website, ocdforedc.com. I'll throw a link up in the description, and I'll also throw a link up for this SOG knife. So go check out the description, click on the links. We certainly appreciate the support. All right, so you can see pretty similar to a Bug Out in overall length. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter. And then I got this one out just for a little comparison. Here it is with the Hogue Deca. You can see there, a little bit smaller than the Hogue Deca as well. But this thing is not just a Bug Out copy, and for that I am incredibly thankful. So this was started out life as a 535 Bug Out. Let me get my tools calibrated here, and let's see what we got for overall blade length. 3.2 inch blade on the Bug Out, And on the SOG, we're 3.18 inch blade. Now, the SOG is a little bit better packaged, so the handle is a little bit shorter, so overall the knife is more compact. It's also thinner. And again, I don't have the standard plastic scales on here, but this thing is right at 4/10 of an inch in its widest part, but it actually thins up towards the end. These are contoured, so you can see there 335 thousandths at the end of the knife. And with the crossfade bug out scales in the middle, you're thicker, 4.35, and it kind of just maintains that thickness all the way through, which the standard bug out does as well. So let's take a gander at the weight. Again, this one is not stock. It's got G10, so it's going to be a little heavier than the standard FRN. If I remember correctly, the original OG 535 was like 1.9. It's right at 2 ounces or just below 2 ounces. Let's check out the SOG. 1.97 ounces. So incredibly lightweight for almost a 3.2 inch blade. That part is very, very cool. And the one thing that I absolutely love about this SOG knife is, check this out. The blade stock thickness here is 74 thousandths, and that's on the spine of the blade. Okay, this thing is about 16 thousandths behind the edge right there, which is super cool. Let's check the factory edge on this because I have not cut anything with it yet, and just see where we're at. All right, here we go. Okay, so 85, that is a phenomenal result, absolutely, for right out of the box. 85 on the old best sharpness tester is A-okay. Now we're going to get in and tear this thing apart. Now, I do want to let you know, so I've got these access bar toolkits on the website. Go check them out, ocdforedc.com. They all are coming with a new tool specifically for the 940. So this is what you would get originally in the toolkit, is this lot right here. But now you're going to get one more tool, 5 instead of 4. Can't beat that. But let's just check it out and see if this tool will work on this knife. I haven't tried this yet, so let's see what we're working with. Definitely going to be the small tool. I don't know if it's going to be... All right, so I just pushed the pivot through. The pivot size here on the SOG Altair, I mean, the small tool does work for sure, but it's not an absolute perfect fit. I'll have to look into that a little more. For the SOG XR knives, this toolkit is not ideal, but it does do great on the Hogue stuff and the Benchmade stuff. I mean, it's really for an access bar lock, not the XR lock. But, you know, it will work in this capacity here as well. Now, I don't know if you guys can see or not, but right down in there, right there, there is a screw that in the book says that it is a 2mm hex. It is not. It is a 1.5mm. It requires a 1.5mm hex key. And then once you loosen up that screw, what's going to happen is it's going to push the backspacer. Now, that screw is held captive in there, but you can see right there, it pushed the backspacer out, and now we can remove it. You can see there is a T-nut right there in the backspacer, and then there's some other features built into the backspacer. This is what holds the back of the knife together. So it's really interesting the way this thing works. We're going to go ahead and remove that scale. You can see this is one of the features that the backspacer is holding together in the spine of the knife. And then there are a couple of Torx screws under here. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. So now you can see the Omega spring and see exactly what we're dealing with here. I'm going to go ahead and just pop that Omega spring out of there, because we are going to take this all the way down. Yeah, there we go. Whoa. Okay, so this thing is smaller than a T6, for the screws on the inside. The pivot screw is actually a T6. I'm going to have to go and grab some other tools. Here I'm going to use my iFixit toolkit. I'll throw a link up in the description for this as well. This is a great little set. Works, it's really kind of geared for electronics, but anything that's got small fasteners, this is a fantastic little tool set. Does not come with the O-ring, but let me grab my driver here and let's see what size Torx we got. All right, got it. What is that thing? A T3. Holy shit. T3 Torx. That is tiny. There's one. Number 2. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and lift off this scale. I'm going to leave the tiny little screws in there, hopefully. And then there you go. Okay, so now you can see this is the screw that is holding the whole show together, and it's held captive with a couple different little features there. And then we've got this piece that's just sitting in there. So there's a lot going on in this particular knife. But it's also, unlike all the other bug out competitors, this one is riding on bearings, which is quite interesting. I could just tell that it was riding on bearings from the action. You can see that they've actually pressed the bearing pocket into the liners. This thing has full liners, which makes it more structural than the standard 535 bug out, which is great. And it's not so squishy in the middle, if you will. We're going to use some Slick-em-all. You can pick this up at ocdforedc.com. If you are not aware of Slick-em-all, this is a lubricant that I make myself, and it comes with a couple of different applicators in a syringe with the bag just like this, so you can store your Slick-em-all in there. But yeah, the Slick-em-all is fantastic, and this is a grease, not an oil. But you have perfect control over it because it's in this syringe. So we'll go ahead and apply a little bit. Actually, let me get it out. This is a brand new tube. There we go. We're going to apply just a little tiny amount around that bearing pocket, if you can see that. A little bit on the blade as well, right on the bearing path. This lubricant stays exactly where you want it, which is why it's a grease and not an oil. When I'm putting this back together, I'm going to go ahead and put the pivot screw back in. Perfect. I'm going to drop the blade. Now I'm going to put my other bearing on, and then put a little bit more Slick-em-all. Perfect. I'm going to drop that back down, just like that. And then the screw dropped in that little cavity right there. Perfect. Now, I am going to attempt to put this back on. Our pins are in. Perfect. All right. Get this screw. Excellent. Okay. So now we got our liners held in by our 2 screws. Yes, our screw that holds the backspacer is in its location. Let's go ahead and rehook up our Omega spring. just like so. We'll get it back in its hole. Excellent. So you can see that the omega spring is back in its proper location. Let's get that put on there. Okay, now I'm going to lay the scale down. All right. Got our pivot screw. Like I said, the pivot screw here is a T6. Okay. And now, so you can see down in there, hopefully, there we go, all the stuff that's going on. There's multiple different things happening down inside there. But let's get the pocket clip out, and I'll show you. All right, so the back spacer is attached to the pocket clip with just a pin right here that you can push out and then rotate the clip 180 degrees and put the pin back in. And when you swap over from one back spacer to the other, you have to grab this T-nut out of here. That little part right there. These parts are very tiny, so I would recommend, you know, make sure you have good light and make sure you don't have parts flying around the room. But there you go. There's the T-nut installed into the new backspacer. And then I'm going to set this up for left-hand carry. But let's go ahead and slide this down in here. Yep. Okay. You have to pre-tension the clip just a little bit. Okay, now you can see that my backspacer is sticking out, but I got to get that screw started into that T-nut. So let's see if that just lines right up for me. Looks like it did. I think we're grabbing threads here. Oh yeah, yep, it's getting pulled in. All right, there we go. We're clipped in. Now we just need to tighten up that screw down in there. Excellent. All right. Clip has great retention. It's a nice, deep carry clip. It works extremely well. Goes in and out of the pocket. Way better than the SOG Terminus, by the way. So in my opinion, this knife is significantly better than the SOG Terminus XR. I know a lot of people like that knife, but the SOG Terminus is, for me, just a subpar knife at best. But you can see here, our blade centering is spot on. Now we've got a pocket clip. Its action is fantastic. Slick 'em all coming in hot. Now, just a little FYI on the Slick 'em all, you can pull the plunger back to get all the Slick 'em all out of the tip there. I don't know if you can see it going down. Just like that. Pull it back into the syringe. You can take this back off. Put the cap back on, and then me personally, I always just set those in like so. And then you can put it all back in its little bag for safekeeping so you don't lose any of the parts and pieces. Nice little hollow bag. Okay, here is the SOG Altair XR. In my opinion, it is the best EDC knife that SOG has made in quite some time. Like I said, I'll throw a link up in the description where you can pick these up. They come in multiple colorways, and they're cheaper than a bug out, which rightfully so. They're not made here in the US. You know, right now, a 535 bug out, I think, will set you back about $170-ish, something like that. Where this is about $50 less. You're looking at like 124 or 125 on the SOG Altair XR. I'll throw up links for the best deal I can find. There you go. Here is another competitor for the bug out, the SOG Altair XR. A little bit smaller overall, but you're not really giving up any blade length. So if we put the blade tip to tip, you can see that the cutting edge is almost exactly the same as the bug out. But back here, the overall handle is a little bit shorter. It's certainly a little bit thinner. Blade stock is thinner. It's really comfortable in hand. I do a full 4-finger grip on this thing, which is very comfortable. Pocket clip is comfortable in hand. Super lightweight. And I'm just really kind of digging the clean, sterile look here. And yeah, overall, pretty impressed so far with the SOG Altair XR. And it's definitely, I'm really interested in this knife just because of how different it is. So although it's similar in a lot of ways, it's an Axis style lock mechanism. It's a lightweight carry. It's a thin blade stock, thumb stud opening. That's kind of where the similarities die off. Hopefully you guys are digging that. There you go, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.